Welcome to episode 1 of the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Alex Lee, Paul Bratslavsky, and Bobby Davis.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 1 of the Not Null Podcast. We're back again for another week to talk about some interesting tech things. So let's jump into our first topic. This week, our first topic is going to be Twitter killing off their API and ruining all of our fun by killing off their now decade-long API for the sake of, well, I say killing it off. They're putting it behind a paywall, right? Yeah. That's what's happening here. They're not killing it, but they're killing free access. There've been free access for over a decade now to the Twitter API, and a lot of bots have come out of this. A lot of applications have come out of this, right? A lot of third-party apps came out of this that a lot of people use because they prefer the third-party app over Twitter's official app. So this is something that was originally slated for Feb 9th. It then moved to Feb 13th. Now it's who knows when, because clearly just having this as a thing they want to do is a little more difficult than just saying, hey, we want to do this. They're finally realizing maybe there's some technical issues with this. So it's taken them a minute to sort this thing out. I think Elon just throws these things out, and then everybody else at Twitter has to kind of pick up the pieces, I think.
That's
and actually
what a good boss does,
thing.
though.
Say again?
Throw it out there and let the guys figure it out. So.
Right. That is what Elon does. So what do you guys think about?
They can't find the Mac Mini that's hosting that feature. That's why it's taking a bit. They're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like which
without
that?
Without answering this immediately, I wonder, does someone want to explain what an API is?
Go for it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Go ahead,
Go
Bobby.
for it.
Well, since I'm the resident coder founder, so I better know. Application programming interface. So that's just short for like a webhook or a REST service or something that you can call from code and return a result to you.
Yeah. So this is a way for Twitter to put out their information, right? So you can pull that information into your app.
Does anyone have a simpler answer? What do you?
No, that was the best answer. I would have got lost. I would have, gave a long-winded answer.
If Paul tried to explain it, it reminds me of the It's Always Sunny in Philly, how he has that really complicated wall, and he's trying to explain how one.
100%.
Imagine you're at a hamburger store and you order a piece of hamburger.
That's how I was actually going to start it exactly with the hamburger store analogy. I mean, how else would you explain it? It's like making a hamburger. You have all these different moving parts that you want to get
yarn
access
to draw some pictures to it. So.
Exactly. You know me all too well. So I'm glad somebody did it.
So how were they allowing it to be free this whole time? Were they just taking the costs associated with this free endpoint, or
it was just a free endpoint that you could call? One of the more popular free endpoints. When here at CoderFounder, when we talk about building apps and everybody wants to use a free API, Twitter's like number 1 on that list. Yeah. Number 2 was Pokemon. I don't know why people always pick Pokemon as their best one, but Twitter's better. But I'm interested in this because I had seen people building infrastructure things in and around Twitter where, and I couldn't believe this when I walked into a dev shop, and when their release cycle would go out, they would tweet it out to the people that were involved. I don't know why they would. I guess they were using the private feature of this or something like that, a direct message. But that's what they were using for notifications instead of like email or something like that. So, I mean, once they start monetizing this, it is going to be $100 a month, was it?
Well,
or a year?
Elon has thrown out $100 a month. So we know how that works. He said
per 500 though there was a limitation.
It's a low end. They say so low level was the quote usage will be $100 a month up to I think 2,500 is what they said, something like that on the higher end. So it can get real expensive, but low level usage was starting at $100. They're also saying there will be there will continue to be a free tier, a write only tier that gives you 1,500. Basically 1,500 tweets a month. So you can write and send 1,500 tweets through the API. You can't read or pull in data from the API. So what you can do with that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think before they're like, we're not making any money, whatever, we'll have this free API. And then Elon spends all this money and it's like, Jesus, he's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this money back. What can I do now? Let me lay some people off. Let me find like this blue check mark. Let's charge some money for that. And he's like, oh, okay, API is free. Let's charge some money for that too.
I agree.
Make some money.
I agree. They're not saying that though, which is the strange thing. What they're actually saying is they're putting it under the guise of they're combating bad bots. So they're saying there are bad bots out there that are using the API, and we need to put a stop to that. We need to put a stop to all these bots because they're really bad. So we're going to have to put a paywall there to stop these bad bots. I think that's total BS. I think you're 100% right, Paul. I think it's another way for Elon to make back his billions that he's put into this that he's realizing is going to be hard to get back out.
Yeah, it's kind of bad because most of my Twitter engagement is based on that. I know I can hashtag a certain bot and it'll retweet it, for .NET. So the .NET bot will retweet it. So is Microsoft or whoever's running that going to pay $100? They're not going to do it for that bot.
I mean,
so
like,
I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, as long as you have like a really strong business use case for it, and you build a really great infrastructure to leverage the API, then sure, go ahead. But I don't think a majority of people that are using the API is doing it in that fashion, right? I believe in capitalism in a way where it's like, if you're gonna be, it's kind of like our last episode where it's like you use the free Getty images, but then you are monetizing based off the Getty images. I think in some regards you need to make the API somewhat, make money for you if you want.
Yeah.
And in some regards, I feel like Twitter before Elon, I'm not saying Elon is fixing it, all of those things, but Twitter just was not making money. They're bleeding money left and right. So they got to do something. So I could respect that aspect. Yeah.
I do believe they would have went under if it wasn't that Elon didn't, or someone didn't come in and buy him. They were losing money when at least according to him, how much money they were losing per month was astounding.
Right.
I'm going to be mad because in research for this topic, I found the coolest bot ever, which was make it a quote. And I used it today. And I was like, no, okay, that thing was cool. I mean,
yeah,
so
but that's one of those examples.
It was neat, but if
that's one of those examples Alex was talking about. Though. That's not a money making bot. There's no business behind that. It's just for fun, right? It just makes stuff makes Twitter a more interesting ecosystem, a more fun place to be.
Yeah.
But there are some apps that do need to have like the business side of it, and will make money, and will just pay for the API, and that's fine.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I know like a lot of people like having access for free thing, but at the end of the day, like Alex is saying, it is a business. It needs to stay profitable, to stay afloat. I mean, I work for a open source company, Strappy, and we have a free product available, but at the same time, we do have to offer some sort of paid things via support, so the product is free, and whenever our enterprise users sign up, they pay for the support, because we need to have the ability to keep the doors open and pay people. And I think, it sucks that Twitter is going to charge money for something, but I don't think people should get too upset about it, because it's like, it's a business. It needs to be profitable. They have to be able to, pay people money so they could take care of their kids, send them to school, and all that other great stuff. And so to get upset about it, it's kind of like, it's like if I show up to your house and you have a service and I ask you to let me use it for free, what are you going to do? You're like, no. And people just got to understand that.
And I think that go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's just the cost benefit. Maybe before it was the growth at all cost, so they'll just kind of take in the fees or associated potential fees that, to run these servers and all of those things. But maybe they're at a point now where it's just, hey, we need to stop bleeding money, and we're gonna, what used to be only fun Twitter is now kind of more of a cutthroat business style of doing it. And I was going to suggest maybe even following the Heroku model, but even Heroku is now no longer free.
They're like,
no. That's the problem, right? When you have a free something and you then decide to charge for it, it's the same problem we were talking about last week.
Bitcoin miners.
It's difficult.
Heroku.
Yeah, so, it's difficult to go from free to paid. It just is. Once people are used to it being free, having a paid model now becomes really bad. And something like Heroku just dies because they were free and everyone was using it. It was the greatest thing on earth until it's not, because now it's paid. It's like $10 a month or whatever it is.
Is there a legitimate Twitter competitor though that would offer like free API?
Yeah, service? No one does. I think the competitor people use a lot, and I've built a lot of apps on it, and a lot of people use it for the infrastructure, Twilio, which it does the same thing. It's just sending out text messages, and you have to pay per message. Wow. And some of those services that we've built end up costing our customers a lot of money but for them it's worthwhile. We did one for a jail system where people are in jail, and if you're in jail, you can like use this tablet app to quote to tweet out to people, but you don't use Twitter. You use a text message platform.
Yeah.
And they use Twilio to do that. Real estate
Let's just say,
systems use them. Yeah,
yeah. Let's just say that B2B makes money, B2C does not.
Exactly.
Like businesses are always willing to pay for anything and everything. You have MailChimp, you have Twilio, you have all of these little services. If it's gonna make you money, then you'll pay money for it. But generally, B2C, it's a lot more of a tough sell.
We pay for MailChimp here. We use MailChimp. I know Kevin does.
We use a lot of like microservices for a lot of different marketing things. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
We use Zapier too.
There's lots of them. There's lots of them. I think part of the issue too is that as consumers, like we've become used to kind of the Netflix model, right? Which is it's cheap, right? I'd say it's cheap. It started at $5, but it keeps going up, right? But the bar's set kind of low for that business to consumer like price level for something like this. It's like when Twitter said they were going to charge the $8 for the blue check mark. I don't think uptake was as good as they thought it was going to be. I think he thought it was going to be a lot more, but people are comparing that to, he's like, well, it's a cup of coffee. But people are also like, well, I don't know, that's like 2/3 of Netflix. Like, is it as good? Like, I don't know. I don't think it is. So we're conditioned to race to the bottom for these things.
Yeah. And I think that's like crazy that that's the expectation. So how do you compete with that? And it's either you ask people to pay or you close down your business. And then where are people going to go if there's no other better Twitter competitor, you know?
There isn't. I mean, Mastodon.
Not
have you
really,
tried
yeah.
Mastodon? It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
No.
I'm
not even going to try. Yeah.
I set up an account, like, and it's this weird. I don't know. Firstly, it's way too techy. Most consumers will never, ever even figure out how to get started on it, let alone use the thing.
Man, you can go to Truth Social. What are you talking about, man? Come on.
Yeah,
there you go.
Or something like that. Which is, I mean, that's the other thing. There's very left wing and right wing versions of these things.
Yeah, which is
like,
insane.
If you go on there, it's not like Twitter. It is 100% no question politics.
Yeah,
it's a political Twitter.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's nothing else.
Yeah, and what's crazy, like I paid $8 for the Twitter thing, not because I was like, oh, Twitter, but I was like, look, they try to stay in business. I'll do my part to support them. Like if I couldn't afford $8 a month, which costs like one latte that most of you have living in like California, or wherever that is you live, you know, it's like, come on, stop crying about it. And so to me, it's like you either support the business or you don't, but don't try to use it to your advantage and then talk crap about it. I mean, it's a private company that is trying to stay afloat, try to make money. And if it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if they were offering things for us for free, you know, and now they're like, oh, we can't do it anymore. Like, I think people should understand, you know.
Well, I think they
should, but it's so hard.
I know.
I think they can charge for the API, but if they charge for Bootstrap, I'm done. Like, you know, I'm going to Tailwind tomorrow. That would usher in the Tailwind conversion for me. So,
So what you're saying is, as long as there's no alternative, you don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Speaking of Tailwind, I love Tailwind so much now that I paid for their super like pricey like template, which is phenomenal. It's like $250. Just because I was like, you know what? I want to support the Tailwind team. And people be like, all the other stuff is free. And part of me, like as a consumer, it's like, if I really believe something and if I'm able to, like, I'll support like the cause. Like, you know, I'm not going to try to take advantage of it. You know, there's plenty of people living in other countries where it's like a real problem where, you know, and like being in America, complaining about stuff like that, to me, it's just like so silly. I talked to someone the other day. They work as a developer. Their monthly income is like $300. You know,
hardcore.
And yeah, hardcore. And so this is like a first world problem. I think people should just take it easy.
Yeah, we're complaining about the API. So,
yeah, I was like, oh my God, the API, I can no longer run my bot that, you know, does.
Not to get off topic here, but what I find funny about, because I'm obviously a Bootstrap advocate. I like, we use Bootstrap for everything. But like people always complain to me and say, you don't understand Tailwind. I'm like, I do. And they're like, Bootstrap's so opinionated about controls and themes like this. And then, you know, and that's the Tailwind crowd until the Tailwind components and the templates are now coming out. And I'm like, it's the same thing, guys. Like,
it's the same thing.
Like,
I love like Bootstrap and I love Tailwind. And when people ask me which one you use, I'm like, use the one that you feel most comfortable, like building things quickly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like it's the same.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic for this week. This is kind of a broad topic, but I wanted to introduce the topic of. Okay, so let me tell a story first. I was driving the other day, and at the end of last year, I purchased an electric vehicle. I bought a Volkswagen ID4.
Oh no, that's the one I wanted to get.
It's nice. It's a great car. I love it. I do. I have no problems with it at all. I totally love it. It's a great car. And I was driving, and when I started noticing on the road the amount of EVs on the road, right? And I'm seeing quite a few Teslas, but here in North Carolina, I'm not seeing a massive amount. So it got me thinking, will there be a point where EVs replace gas vehicles? Well, firstly, will that ever happen? Will gas vehicles just go away? Ultimately, are they a replacement? Or is this just a fad? Is this a niche thing that happens that'll kind of come and go? Or will it come and stay? Will it be like, will 10% of vehicles always be electrical and the rest will be gas? Is that a potential thing that will happen? So just to go over some of the stats before we kind of talk about this. So sales growth for EVs, and we're talking US particular here really, since 2020 have really gone up, right? So Q3 2020, it accounted for 2.2% of sales of all cars. Q3 2022, it accounted for 6.1%. So a pretty big jump in a couple of years, really. We're talking about 2.5 million electric and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles sold. I mean, it's quite a few cars. So some predictions have said that by 2050, half the cars on the road could be electric. You guys think that's the case, or you think it's not?
Do you have that breakdown by state? How many electric cars did California buy?
Okay, so California is a lot. California is overwhelmingly the most. Texas is second, though, and Florida is third. Most populous states are the ones that seem to be...
Makes no sense. Everybody here drives trucks. What are you talking about?
Electric trucks. Just kidding.
Texas was third on the list, obviously because of size of state and population, I'm guessing.
I think there's part of like a status that comes with owning an electric, and part of the fad. I think it's still going to move in the direction where I think there's going to be probably that 50-50 mix. But at the moment, I think I would be curious to see what's the financial demographic of people that buying electric cars and what job do they do.
Well, I can tell you that too. It definitely skews higher. Most electric cars are sold to people who make over $100,000 a year.
It's the same people that buy the Porsche chair, to be honest.
Exactly.
I didn't buy a Porsche chair.
I know. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I want to buy the VW electric car. It looks slick. Well, that's the one I want.
What's the reason?
Good.
What's the reason for buying an electric car? Is it at least I want to hear your opinion why you did it, Kevin. What was a convincing factor for you? Because I know sometimes people have incentives to get EV cars because
that's true too.
It helps with taxes or whatever, from what I remember. So
there's a federal tax credit, which basically is the full amount back when you do your taxes of $7,500 if your EV was made or manufactured or assembled, I guess, in the US. So mine does account for that. So this year I will get a tax credit of $7,500 back from the government, which
that's awesome.
It's kind of nice. But the car itself isn't cheap, right? It's not. That's the other thing. They're currently slightly more expensive than the average electric car costs slightly more than the average gas car right now. But I think that's to do with not only just technology being newer, but also they skew higher in price, period, right? They're more premium than currently you can't buy what's considered a low-end electric car, right? There's no $20,000 price point.
Oh wait, Prius,
exactly.
Prius
we're talking about a $30,000 starting for most of them, and they go up from there, right, up to hundreds for some of them. So that's partially why, but it's getting better. Tesla announced price reductions on their cars. So did Ford on the Mustang, the Mach-E. So they put a price reduction on that too. So they are coming down. The average is actually quite close. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like it's a bit of a myth that they do cost more. I think it's just one of those things. But again, the rebates do help. For me, it fits my criteria for what I need it for. right? I don't commute
Short
a lot.
distance.
Short distance. Well, short distance, even then, yeah, short distance is a thing. It just although 240 miles is what it's good for before a charge, right?
Good.
So it's not like it's not
Pretty
short.
good, yeah.
Short. It's you can still road trip in it, but we'll talk about infrastructure in a second. But you can road trip in it. But for me, not having a car that I can use locally where I don't have to put gas in it is great. I just plug it in. I only have a level 1 charger at home. I didn't even put a level 2 charger in. So it runs on a regular just charging. It costs me next to nothing to fill this thing up. I mean, really, we're talking like a few dollars to fill it up. It's very, very cheap.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
I don't think it's gonna. Here's my view on it. I don't think it's gonna happen. Like I think it's I won't say it's outright fad. I think people are gonna buy them. I think the allure of the gasoline truck and the and comparing that to an F-150 Lightning. Let's say if you get an F-150, a 2023 model, and you have an F-150 2023 Ford Lightning, could you drive that Ford Lightning 20 years from now? And people that buy trucks, that's what they do. Like, and so the battery goes away. So we'll have to see the longevity of these types of vehicles to see if people will adopt them. The other part is like, it's really hard to change consumer buying habits of people with something this big. This is like, let's change the way TVs work, or let's change the way, so it's really an addition to like land loan versus mobile phones. That took a long time. If you look at like when you got rid of your last landline in your house and you went totally mobile, I think that's the decision we're going to take. So yeah, I think it's going to take 50 years, which means as old as I am, I'm never buying one.
You don't think you're ever going to buy one?
I'll be 95 years old when it happens.
Well,
and
here's the
no
thing.
one can want me to get a license anyway.
I agree with you. I don't think you'll ever have to buy one.
Yeah.
Now, will you want to buy one? I think you will at some point. I think
maybe, I might. I mean, like, they are cool, and I am a techie guy, so I like the technology that are packed into them. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, I think that's the major difference. Yeah, I think that's the major difference. Is cars have been relatively pretty boring for pre-electric cars. Like you really can't, you could shape it up in a different way, but a lot of the stuff inside is pretty much the same. You see with Tesla, what they first started was this electric car and everyone loved it, but they realized there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work because there's a lot of bugs with tech, right? And then as each iteration goes by, it just gets better and better and better. So for me, if I was to buy an EV car, I would wait maybe another 5 to 7 more years just to make sure they have all the kinks kind of ironed out. And then I actually drove in a car, or I was in a car where it's like the auto, like what do you call it, where it just drives automatically for you. That thing is awesome. The self-driving car is awesome feature. It's a little scary because I'm still used to like when I reverse my car, I still look behind me and then I don't look at the screen in the front. So that's my style of driving.
Smart
so
about it,
so just having this self-driving car is a little daunting at times, but I mean, it's just crazy how it keeps evolving.
Yeah, to me, I think I'll buy electric car just for like the fact that like, oh, it's cool tech, and if it'll be self-driving, it'll be awesome because then I can put a jacuzzi in it. It'll be perfect. But I will still want to be able to. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That'll be the dream life. But at the same time, like I want to have like a manual stick shift car. It doesn't even have to be fast, but the fact that I could switch and like turn things and like touch stuff, like I was talking to a friend of mine, and that was one of his complaints about a lot of the electric cars is they don't have that tactile thing of feeling like you're actually doing stuff. It's like you're literally sitting on the iPhone. That's it.
It is difficult. Yeah. It's a weird sensation.
I want to play with knobs. There's no knobs. I'm like, you know what? That's actually a valid point. I was like, dudes, we just want to fiddle with stuff. And
they're also in general, they're also very, very fast. So people who are into fast cars, electric cars are very fast. You put your foot down, it's instant torque. They are very fast. Even my little SUV Volkswagen is off the line. It is quick. It's rapid.
Yeah, they're fast. They're off the line. They're fast.
Insane, saying that, here's what could change buying behavior. NASCAR goes electric. Then you would probably see a lot of people in North Carolina buy electric cars. Dude,
that would never happen.
Never gonna happen,
but that would be an interesting bet to make. Will NASCAR ever go electric? That will the whole culture. It's like this doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, with Kurt Busch
Imagine having like a Budweiser
It's
watching electric cars race. That just doesn't work. I'm sorry.
There's no sound from the exhaust. It's just like
yeah, it is nothing. It's just like you're just gonna hear like burps and farts because it's so quiet.
And then like when they put the gas in, it's just like this electric fuel. You have to wait like 35 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. NASCAR culture is not gonna happen. It's not happening.
That actually highlights a point, Alex. 35 minutes to charge is one of the issues with electric cars.
Yeah,
right.
It's a big issue.
That is one of the things. If you're going on a road trip, the infrastructure right now just isn't there. It's kind of bad. It's just not very good. If you have a Tesla, it's a little bit better. But Tesla's infrastructure right now is a supercharger. But their infrastructure right now is proprietary to Tesla. You can't go and charge any other brand car at a Tesla supercharger. Right? So, and likewise the other way around.
Elon going to charge $100 a month for them to use their supercharger?
Exactly.
They're going to use like
to offset the money.
A Twitter plus Tesla combo deal.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is going to be it. Yeah, it's going to.
That's crazy too, because you could never look cool filling up your car at 35 minutes a pop. You know.
Now I can see people influencing this behavior by making the charging thing an event, and so where we have like really fancy convenience stores here in North Carolina, I'm sure you'd have them in other places. We have a company here called Sheets, but I could see them doing even more types of things in there to make that downtime entertaining and give them ability to sell things. But we have superchargers here in Kernersville, which is kind of crazy that we do have it here. But if you go across the country, you go out in the Midwest, I was reading like in Appalachia, Kentucky, Tennessee, all those places, it's a desert, man. I mean, and if you went from probably in certain parts of Texas, Paul, some
100%.
of the big areas to one of the other big areas, people don't realize how big Texas is. There's nothing out there, and you got to have you need gas.
So I will say, I thought about driving back to Ohio from here in North Carolina, right? In the EV, and there are no charging stations that I can use in the state of West Virginia.
Right. Oh my God.
Okay. It's actually a state thing. They refuse to put money into them. They refuse to use them. It's old fossil fuel money, right? They literally refuse to embrace EVs.
They mine coal.
Right. They mine coal, and they literally refuse to have electric charging stations. Now, the distance across the state is you can just about make it, apparently. There's one on the way in and there's one on the way out.
That's a hell of a gamble.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the other car that takes gas.
Are there any hills? Because that goes into that whole calculation.
It does, and there are hills. There definitely are on the way on the other side of
You got to be like a math whiz just to drive cross country, because you have to calculate elevation, how much gas you're gonna burn. Oh my gosh,
yeah, man.
That's too much.
Kevin's like, I have to be a normal human and use gas.
Yep. That's an issue they're going to have to fix. They're going to have to do something about that. That has to be fixed for us to have mass adoption.
Right.
Since I'm a boomer, like part of my thing is like have an electric car and then have a 1980s sports car. I don't know which one, but like from Miami Vice or whatever. Like pick any of one of those, like like that old school Ferrari. Yeah, no, not Trans Am. I don't go that. I'm talking about like
Trans Am.
No,
it's like Miami Vice, didn't you?
I know Trans Am. Like, I know. There was a face I like them, but I have like either like Nissan. There's nice one from the 80s, well, earlier than the 80s. Then the old school RX-7s I like, and then like ideal would be like a Ferrari or a Porsche, like of that.
Yeah. That way you get the chair for free. Buy a Porsche and get 2 chairs.
Yes, 100%.
So speaking of Porsche, though, I think there could be something that we're not accounting for. We're thinking like EV and then and gas is our only choices here. Porsche is working on a synthetic fuel that's supposedly carbon neutral. So that would run in any gasoline car they ever had. And so while they're going to make electric Porsches, they want to make sure that all the old Porsches can run. And so they're going to manufacture fuel that's not based on oil. It's some kind of synthetic e-fuel. Now, is it $13 a gallon? Probably is. It may be more. I don't know. But like there could be another technology that leapfrogs all of these things. And we're talking about hydrogen or something else in the future. Yeah. So we'll just have to see. But I don't think it's in my lifetime, Kevin, where we have all electric cars. I just don't think so. So I think 40 years from now, when I'm gone, that will,
I'm curious though, like, because I heard both sides, and I don't know who's right, but the debate, are they actually really good for the environment or not? That's like another thing, like, I hear, and it's like, what's the consensus there? Like, depends, who I listen to,
Yeah. It does.
The thing I worry about realistically is if we did convert over to EV cars, could our electric grid actually do it? Like, in other words, or is the state of California going to say, yeah, you can't charge a car today. We've got to, keep the lights on downtown LA. And so and they already have brownouts. There's been brownouts in Texas. There's brownouts. Yep. So are we going to build nuclear? Are we going to build more dams?
Nuclear
what are we going to do?
Because
that's a lot more electricity we need if all the cars were electric. I mean, it would be a massive kind of hit.
I just wonder if there's also these gas station companies. Like, do they lobby against this?
Of course they do.
And they must be pretty powerful, right? All things considered.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they are. That's why there's no EV stations in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
yeah,
like there's always going to be that fight. So maybe 80 years.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, I feel like it's also in their best interest to make gas powered cars be more efficient, so they could
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna run out of business.
Exactly. So the struggle is real. We all need helicopters. Okay. That's what we need.
Let's move on to
electric powered.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny you say that. There's going to be United Airlines have said they're working on electric passenger planes. So
no, thank you. No, thank you.
See, this is what me and Kevin talked about. This, like,
no, thank you.
We would drive an electric car, but if someone come out with an electric plane, we're like, bro, I am not in that electric plane. That's not happening. I'm not doing that. So at all, it's too dangerous. I don't know why we feel that way. We just do. We all feel that way.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to our next topic then. Next topic, let's talk about the news publishers being wary of Bing chatbots media diet. So this is talking about last week. Microsoft came out with their new Bing, they're calling it, which is ChatGPT powered on the back end for this chat thing. So it will basically, as we know, ChatGPT pulls in all of this data from the internet and then kind of spits out answers in a human interface kind of way. And what do you guys think about media companies basically saying, well, hold on a minute, you're sucking up all of our news stories and you're presenting them in ChatGPT, but you're not presenting them in the format that we put them in. You're not pushing them to our website. You're not serving them an ad is kind of the most important thing here. So what do you guys think about ChatGPT pulling in all of this data and then just presenting it in a non-traditional way?
As a customer, I love it.
I agree.
But I could totally tell. But from a business side, I could totally understand the hate.
Yeah, I was gonna say same thing, Alex. Like, I agree with him, and I think it's gonna create very interesting dynamic, like, for content creators. Like, how do you decide what you put out publicly, and how do you decide what you put behind a paywall, and then becomes it's not even the content that's the selling point, and it's your personality and the way you tell the story, because content is going to be like so easily replicated by ChatGPT 3.
Yeah, I think if the reason they're making ChatGPT and the Bing is to sell ads. So like Microsoft they want the ad money that Google has right now. That's what drives all of Google's business. And so, but if you summarize every article on the internet and you don't allow the person to go back to the other website, how do you sell those ads? And so realistically, and I saw an interview with Nadella, and this was asked to him by the writer at The Verge, and he didn't have a really good answer for it. And so I can see them thinking, hey, we'll just make one web page, take the whole web, it just comes into one web page, it's called Bing, and we'll sell ads on that page. But then what happens is that the system collapses because no one's going to create content. Without content, there's nothing to search for. And so New York Times or Forbes or The Verge or any of these publications, they'll quit making content if they can't find a way to pay for it. So Microsoft's going to have to figure this out. And the only way to really do it is push them back to that website so that website can serve up an ad. Unless they start paying to get the content from them. Yeah,
and also don't companies pay for that the ad space somewhat because they want them to click on the actual like ad space, right? But like if everything's already just on that like area or whatever, then you're just like, okay, cool. Like I don't need to actually click on the actual link that's at the top of Bing's website or Google's website, right? So,
if it served you the information that you need, there
really is no purpose.
Interesting point on this, because I'm thinking a lot about this lately, is that's all informational stuff. It's like, I'm looking for an answer. I want to know how to do something. And so if that's the type of content you are providing, of course, you're going to get destroyed by ChatGPT-3 because people will be able to easily get their information. So as a content creator, like looking to move into the future, how do you create content that's not that informational answer that people just get that could be done with ChatGPT-3 and they don't really care about your personality? And so I feel like moving forward into the future, for me, like if I wanted to stay relative as a content creator, number one, I'll stick to video because it's not as easy to fake at the moment. It's going to change soon. And also, I think it's really diving into your personality and having a opinion or point of view that AI can't really do, because you already know it's not a real person, or it's like, I think it's missing. And this comes from, I did an experiment of creating a YouTube channel, which is completely all done with AI, and the information is 100% useful, but the presentation, like after watching those videos a bunch of times, it's like impersonal, and you feel that there's no like real human connection. And I realized that a lot of people, when they engage in content, it's not so much the content, but it's the community that they belong. It's like back in the day when people would sit by the fire, tell stories, and you have that feeling of community. I'm realizing that's like the main selling point now. So even though AI may be able to get you the answer quicker, it's not going to engage you in a way that you are engaged in the community.
Right.
Yeah, it's about how you package it up, right? And one of the videos that I'm going to be releasing soon is like layoffs in Fang, and like how I feel about it and what I did personally. But it's, ChatGPT can give some very, I don't know, cookie cutter advice, stay sharp and blah, blah, blah. And I may say something along. Yeah, I may say
that's my advice. I gave that in the last video. What are you talking about? ChatGPT.
Exactly, right?
It's going for me. Stay sharp, bro.
Stay frosty.
Stay frosty. That's the one I was looking for. Exactly.
All of the advice is like relatively similar, but from, I guess, since I do have the authority of saying that I do work at a company and I have that experience, like sometimes it's hard to trust everything an AI says, even though like a good chunk of it is right.
But what's interesting, like when I think like the Tech Rally, the YouTube channel, like automatically I think of the voice and like your way you present data. It's like very smooth and really cool. And that's like the appeal. And like AI can't do that. Like it doesn't have that personality. And so when people watch my like content, they're like, oh, look at an idiot talk about tech stuff. It's hilarious. And he kind of knows what he's talking about. And then like they watch you and Kevin, there's like this, like there's like something real about it. And I think AI is going to make people starve for authenticity in content, which is just not going to exist over time. Right now, people are excited because it's like, oh my God. But eventually it's just going to be a machine talking to you, and it's a machine. And it's like I forgot, like, what's the word? I forgot what it doesn't matter, but it's like, it's not going to last. People are going to get over it.
I think like soft serve ice cream is really good, but there's always that place for the Cold Stones of the world, or the people that have hand dipped ice cream, where they make it. It's just better. I mean, like fast food it's pretty good, but every now and then you want to eat something different. And if you need to know what to eat, just ask Alex at Tech Rally. He'll tell you where to go. So let me ask you
a question about ice cream. I'm completely going off topic here. So I took my daughter to this ice cream shop that we thought was going to be good because they had like these amazing waffle looking cones. And we go in there, and every like ice cream I look at, it has like some sort of salad dressing name, like balsamic and vinaigrette, or like some other weird taste.
Oh, that was fancy.
I was like, how they're in business? I tried it. It tasted exactly like you think it would taste, but it's packed. And my daughter and I, Marissa and I, were like, we'll never come back here again. If I wanted to get a salad, I would have went to like a salad place. So I don't know if you ever had ice cream like that. If you do, stay away from it. I forgot the name of it. Otherwise, I would have.
I don't want businesses to run out. I don't want businesses to run out of business. But I think if ChatGPT can somehow get all the like Yelp, Google reviews and then curate it in a way that just tells me, is this place good or not? And then give me a few bullet points. I think that would be really helpful because I hate reading reviews where I'm actually actively looking for bad reviews, right? Just to see what they are.
Sure.
And just say, ChatGPT, give me all the reviews that are bad and give me all the reviews that are good. And then I could actually make that decision really quickly. But then I guess that also means that Yelp will run out of... at the same time, Yelp is the data provider, so who knows?
I don't know if it'll acquire it. This is the problem with ChatGPT is it would lie. I mean, it would just make up a review. So I tell you,
but that happens by people too. It happens. So I had this funny experience. I went to a restaurant, terrible place. The food was the worst. I couldn't leave it fast enough. And then they gave that thing after your experience, give us a review. So I gave a 5-star review just so some poor person will read my review and be like, oh, this place is pretty amazing. And they go and they'll have the worst experience ever. So I'm not saying that makes me a bad person. Is that you've never done that before? Am I the only one that's no?
I've never seen someone actively write a great review in spite. You must have a lot of time on your hands.
No.
Usually people
I've
write
done it
reviews
twice.
if it's bad.
I've done it twice, by the way. The second time I worked for the worst company. I'm not going to name it here, but if you go on LinkedIn, you probably will find out. I worked for this medical HR company. You go on Glassdoor, 1-star review, 2-star review. Then there's a glowing 5-star review. I wrote it.
Okay.
Just so somebody will go there and be like, oh my God, what the hell was this person thinking? And they're going to spend their lifetime trying to analyze the psychology of Paul and why he wrote such a glowing review. Was it just by accident? Was it purpose? Did he actually have that experience there? Or is he
right.
Someone's...
So we're going to request that you do not review Coder Foundry, Paul. So.
So here's the thing, by the way, when I legitimately like something and I feel like they're doing an amazing job, I'll give obviously great and honest review. And a lot of times when I do stuff like that, it's when I see a company just not doing good things. And then part of me wants to be a jerk, and out of spite, I'll do it because I know nobody, number one, is applying to that company. So no one's going to actually see my review. And number two, it's just hilarious. But for a valid business, I would never do that. Never do that.
But then you just admit that your reviews are not trustworthy. We can't tell if it's a legitimate or a...
Paul is ChatGPT. That's what he is. He's
No. When I speak from the heart, I tell the truth. And if anybody's looking to learn ASP.NET, go to Coder Foundry. Amazing program. Amazing place.
That seems so genuine too.
But here's the thing. Here's how funny it is. Man, my brain, I can't think of it. Somebody that visits your channel often and they got a job working in ASP.NET, and I kept saying React all the time, and they were just not buying my advice, and they went that whole ASP.NET route, and they broke into the field, have an amazing career now. They're on their third role, and something that I didn't realize, and I mean you all talk about it all the time, but going with ASP.NET and C# automatically puts you to enterprise level companies as a candidate. Which is kind of weird, and you could correct me, Alex, if I'm right or wrong. But I find that a lot of people that do Node.js, React, they're mostly will have easier time getting hired at startups, and that has been my short-lived experience. What do you think? I don't know if that's true, but it just seems that way.
Ask ChatGPT. Maybe he'll give us a good answer.
God, maybe we'll bring that one back next week.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our last final topic here. Then talk about a piece of hardware.
I'm already excited.
I'm excited.
I knew you would be, Paul. This is
I'm so excited and
a VR piece of hardware. So this is the Bigscreen Beyond. It's what it's called. It is a VR headset. It's a PC VR headset, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. But Bigscreen, the company that's making this thing, it's billed as the world's smallest VR headset. Bigscreen that's making this actually has an app. They're a software company as well as now apparently a hardware company. And anybody that has an Oculus has probably even used Big Screen. I don't know if you've used Big Screen before, Paul, the app.
No, I haven't.
It's basically so it's basically a theater application. You go in and you can watch videos on it in a theater.
I did use it without knowing what it was. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So it's that same company. They're now making this world's smallest VR headset. So this thing has like pancake OLED lenses. It's very, very, very small compared to anything else that we've seen before. It's custom fit to your head too, which is kind of crazy. You suppose you can use an app
lenses if you need it.
Yeah, prescription lenses you can have with it. Mm-hmm. A few downsides to this. Just a heads up on these things. It doesn't have speakers. You got to use some kind of headset with it. It's not standalone, so it's not like a Quest. Yeah. A Quest is a standalone. You just turn it on. You put it on your head and you can walk around with it, and it's a standalone VR headset. This isn't that. You have to hook this up to a PC. So you've got to have a pretty powerful PC to begin with to have this thing. No speakers, I talked about. It has one of the big things for me that's kind of weird with it is it has what's called a fixed IPD. So if you've ever used a VR headset, there's this, or I even had glasses. They measure your IPD when you have glasses, right? It's your interpupillary distance, the distance between the center of your eyes, right? So there's an actual distance. And to get good VR, you have to have that measurement correct. Well, this thing on this headset is set. You buy it set. So only you can use it.
Yeah.
So it's a very personal device, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
I guess that's how they make it small. I don't know. It also requires a whole bunch of extra hardware too to get to work. It requires Steam VR base stations. It requires Valve controllers. There's a whole bunch, probably another $600 on top of the price of this thing, which is $1,000 to start off with.
Big kit.
So I love the idea of this thing. I think it's epic that it's so small, and it just like compared to other headsets that are out there right now, it's very, very tiny. But do we want to go this way? Is this the thing? Is this the future of VR? Is tethered small headsets? Is this the way we want to go? What do you think, Paul?
I think that's the in-between space we're in right now, where people that do want to have like the highest fidelity like experience that they can, this is unfortunately the one way that you could experience it. I think, though, moving forward, standalone devices and shrinking things and figuring out ways how to have that same experience without the wires is still like where we need to go. At the same time, by the way, just you were mentioning all the bad things. I'm sure they're not watching, but I heard that they're not as bright and they have some weird reflection on the lenses. So I would definitely not buy one until you see some legitimate reviews and tests. But I've been playing a lot of Flight Simulator in VR, and I mean, if this would make that experience better, I would probably get it.
It's too expensive. I'm just gonna say straight, it's too expensive for me. Yeah,
listen,
no, it is expensive.
Instead of building 10 APIs on Twitter, I'm gonna get this. Okay, okay, you know, that's. I mean, it's gonna be expensive. $1,600 with everything, and that's
plus the PC
Pro. So like territory.
Just give me a Porsche chair at this point. At least it's physically
we're
sit down
Porsche chair money. So, that's what we're
that's
gonna
the
do
ultimate tool. Porsche chair plus VR.
Porsche chair money.
What
is this Porsche chair money? Is this what this thing's called? I think ultimately what I do like about this is that VR is a segment, which I do believe that is, well, I call this a screen shift, where we write code, we write apps. There is a VR AR type situation that we're getting into here. So more people are entering in this space, which leads to more innovation. We're not quite there yet. And I believe, and this is my common belief, that it's really the AR is the tech that's going to change the way we consume information, so that we can overlay something in the real world. We can still walk around. We can still see it. With these tethered headsets, I think that they're going to have to invent something that can transmit the signal without a tether, which we've seen wireless HDMI, those kind of work. But something like that, I mean, trying to use these in your living room while you're tethered is kind of a problem, you know. So I think
it is. Yeah. So the Oculus right now there is a wireless thing you can do. So I've hooked up mine. You use this too, right, Paul? I know you use a cable though, don't you? We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I use the cable. I've done wireless too, depending.
Yeah,
on
but there is wireless. It works on your home Wi-Fi, so you got to have a decent Wi-Fi too. But it's pretty good. So you can hook up to your PC wireless right now. You generally have to be, I've found it best if you're in the same room and your wireless access point is very, very close to you. It seems to work quite well. You've also got to have a pretty new and decent router. You know, it does kind of work, but it's not the technology isn't quite there yet because it is working over Wi-Fi. It'd be better if it worked over some other, like you say, like wireless HDMI or something that was a higher bandwidth, right?
Yes, a higher bandwidth, and it's a reserved signal space. I think it'll come out. Definitely will do it. I mean, I've used wireless projectors. We have them in the office. They work great for PowerPoint. As soon as you show a video, it kind of sucks. It was limited, and you couldn't show 4K or 8K or something like that. So, but the biggest thing that we need in this marketplace, and it was just announced this morning, and it looks like Apple's going to finally show their device off this summer at their World Developer Conference. So I think that's the game changer when Apple releases a device that you could see people lining up around the block to buy it. I don't think, was this Bigscreen or what are they called? Beyond Screen or whatever?
Bigscreen.
I don't think they're the company that's going to drive it. They could get acquired by some of these other big players. Maybe that's what they'll do.
I just don't know what Apple's going to bring. Like, they're not known for the games. And so it's going to be, I'm assuming, only like business use cases and what have you. And then obviously it's only going to work with their ecosystem. And so that's kind of limiting.
Yes.
For instance, like one of the reasons why I like my Oculus is it's, very easy for me as an individual to get into it. Like, you just learn like C# and you use Unity and you can make cross-platform like devices, and it's like pretty awesome. And I feel like getting involved with like Apple, it's like you have to buy into their whole ecosystem, and so you're trusting that they're going to win the market, and you have to kind of bet on them. Yeah. Although
you're betting on
developer,
their version of the iPhone, right? I mean, that's what you're betting on. Like it's
right. Yeah,
it's not like they haven't proven that they can get third-party developers to their app store. So like they'll release, I'm sure they'll release, and their device is going to be $3,000. So it's more like the HoloLens from Microsoft, where I think it's more of a dev kit, where a developer buys it, says what it can do. I'm sure they'll have a language and everything else they built and around it to make it work. They haven't announced that kind of stuff yet. So it'll be something like Swift or whatever they're using currently.
It's going to be Swift because they have the AR kit already on the phones. They already have a bunch of these AR applications already on the phones. They've had them for years now. They have this AR kit. It's going to be built on that same technology, which I believe uses Swift. So it's going to be a thing. But I don't think, if you're talking about, so the rumors are, WWDC, maybe we'll see. $3,000 as a rumor. We've seen these rumors before, but this is a little bit more concrete this time than we've seen in the past. And at $3,000, it doesn't compete with a Quest. This is like comparing a Game Boy to an Xbox One X. It's like, while they both play games, they're both very different markets. We're talking about a $500 or $400 unit versus a $3,000 unit. It has to be business focused. It can't be just games, because they don't really have AR games right now. I don't think it'll be that. Yeah, I think it'll be more of a. It's more of a business play, or is it more on the AR side where it's more about this headset where you're kind of walking down the street and you have an AR overlay on things? Is that going to be the play?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Apple's got to be betting on AR.
No, the other Mac rumor, and this isn't going to be a W unless he holds his finger up and say one more thing. If he channels Steve Jobs, we know this is going to be built. But there's a Rayband device that's already that you can go look at that does overlays, and so apparently Apple's working with those guys to build a Rayband glasses, and that's where I think this goes. And I saw yesterday there was a company out there that's got a monocle. It's just a little monocle that you just put over your eye. It's kind of like 1912 or something. But you put the monocle in your eye, and that gives you an overlay of the world. So context-sensitive ads, context-sensitive location awareness data as you're walking around. You can see, imagine if you're walking in downtown New York, and then they can serve up a coupon to Alex at the Korean restaurant that's right around the corner, and it's like on a flag outside the door, and then it's got the 4 Yelp reviews in it. And he's wearing the glasses. He's walking in that place because, hey, Alex, we'll give you $8 off if you try this.
Honestly, I thought that's what Google Glass was gonna do.
They tried. They were too soon.
Too soon. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where it's going to go. And I think if Apple released a device that was stylish and cool, and it looked like Ray-Bans, and they did that,
it won't.
Yeah, they're going to sell.
This first iteration will look nothing like that. It'll look like we're walking around with Quest headsets on.
Yeah,
I just have a feeling it's going to be big.
The current one, yes.
It's bulky. It's not going to be yeah, it's
they
not
call
gonna
it
look
the
slick,
crown
so
lift.
like
You can
glasses.
like flip it up like this, like you would like a headset.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll try to
they'll
make
put
it-
some cool
yeah.
engineering into it. You know
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah.
It's Apple,
Yeah.
right? They're going to have whatever it's going to be is going
Yeah.
to be look cool. It's going to be engineered well. It's do we want to walk around the streets with these giant headsets on? Because my guess is the AR experience is going to be a pass-through AR experience, just like the Quest is, where it's cameras looking out. You're not actually,
Right.
it's not a piece of glass, I don't believe at this
Right.
point.
Yeah.
It's going to be screens with cameras feeding the information to the screens. That's going to be a weird experience walking around the street with that. It's just going to be strange.
We're already wearing headphones though. We got the big Beats, and then we got the cans.
I do
bigger.
appreciate that. Yeah, I do appreciate that it's getting smaller and smaller because these bigger
Yes.
devices are just ridiculous. Like no one's gonna wear it for long periods of time. And I think some
Yeah.
people were saying, imagine that you're in a virtual office with your coworkers, and I just can't imagine myself wearing this big like binoculars on my face and they're just coding through a
Listen,
screen through
no.
a screen. You know, what I mean?
That is
So-
so ridiculous. It's like, why don't you just go into the office? Why don't you just do that?
Why can't I just
It's
look
like,
at my
it's
monitor to
yeah,
code,
exactly.
right? Like, why do I have to go
Exactly.
to third person mode and
Well-
then go back to first person mode after?
You know,
Just
the
like-
thing is, here's what does work about that though, Alex. You can have I can have 3 70-inch monitors surrounding me in
True.
VR, and trust me, it is cool. Like to have those 3 monitors is kind of like I don't have the space for it. Like I don't have the
why
money
limit
to buy
yourself to
these
3,
monitors.
Kevin?
Yeah, you gotta
You could
get,
make-
like,
you could
a
do
whole-
8.
I'm talking about current. Like you can actually do this right now on the Oculus. It's limited to 3. I don't know why, but it is. But you can do this. Like it's an actual thing. But it is kind of weird. I agree. Wearing the headset is cumbersome. It is right now. You can't wear it for long periods of time. It's not the most comfortable thing ever.
The
Yeah, as long as
funniest things. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because I was going to completely derail the conversation. The funniest thing to watch is watch people having a VR experience, and you have no idea what they're doing. You just see them on their headset, and they literally look like they're having an aneurysm, and you're like, "Yep,
Right.
human
Guess
beings
the
look
game
best."
based on what they're doing.
I do
Exactly.
think there is.
Yeah, it's like
I do think there's another form of entertainment coming with this. I do think that to get people back into theaters to see something that they could bring a truly immersive environment that changed the way we experience stories. I think there's a market there, and I think there's some filmmakers out there that are trying to do that. The question is, how do you get 100 headsets and then change them over? And right now, 3D glasses are hard enough to get, but like I do think there's an experience there that can be had that's truly unique. So I do like the way this is going. I think it's coming. I just don't think it's quite there yet, but
Yeah, it's a good experience on a headset. Watching I don't even have to go to the movies. I can watch the movies at home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's a good
Lakers game.
experience.
You see an NBA game from from center court's kind of cool.
Yep.
Like it's kind of, if you're a fan of sporting events and things like
Yep.
that. So.
That could be very a big money maker because it doesn't limit one person to that seat, right? Technically,
Exactly.
you
No.
have
Everybody
multiple
gets
You can
front
go
row
with your
seats.
buddies though. Like we could all 3 go to NBA ticket game, and we would sit beside each other at this game, and you could look left and right and talk and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. If you
Oh,
ever
I was
tried
just
it.
thinking everyone just share that same seat because there's no actual restriction of having.
Right, you kind of do share the same. You
Yeah.
kind of do. It's
Yeah,
like,
but if
you
you're
ca- you-
there
yeah.
with friends, it kind of puts you together where you
Yeah.
can like look
I
around.
see.
Yeah.
Next thing you just have like a physical person sitting there with VR goggles just watching the game. It's like we just need bodies at center court watching these games for us.
Everyone knows we can't do bodies or we can't do legs in VR, right? So that's
Yeah.
Or hands with AI. It's just the perfect recipe.
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's it. We're wrapped up. Wrapped up for this week. It was great talking as always. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for listening to last week's episode. If you haven't listened to that, you can go listen to that. If you're listening to this, you've probably listened to this on one of the many, many, many places you can listen to us now. We're on everything. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Overcast. We're on everything but Google. Don't know why.
Oh, no.
Google's just taking so long up to 2 weeks to index this podcast. So get on it, Google. What are you doing? But everywhere else we are. So thank you for listening. We super appreciate it. Does everybody just want to do a quick round the room where we can find you and what you guys are doing at the moment? Anything you need to plug? Go for it, Paul.
I get to go first. Okay. You can find me at Coding30 on Twitter or While It Lasts, or Coding After 30 YouTube channel. Check it out if you want.
Who's next?
It's
You
gotta
Alex,
be
go
you.
for it.
Go ahead.
It's got to be me. Okay, all right. Well, follow me at The Tech Rally or follow me at my YouTube channel called Tech Rally. What I'm working on actually is I'm doing a little experiment on YouTube Shorts. So I've been posting one short a day. And finally, today, I was able to hit 1,500 views. Before it was averaging around 100 to 200. But for some reason, today, the YouTube algorithm decided to bless me with 2,200 views. Okay. Yeah, so things are looking
going up
good
right now.
Well, it's going up
It's
fast.
still going. Yeah, it's going on fast. So, Paul, I'm catching up to you. Watch out.
It's fine.
I'm on
you could do your shorts. I'm probably not going to do shorts as aggressively as you. Maybe do once every month.
Hey, it's just worth experimenting, right?
No, 100%. No, there's definitely a benefit in shorts. I'm kind of Yep.
We'll geek out about YouTube stuff later.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do it on our own private time. We
On
can
our own
message
time,
each
man.
other.
This is the Not Know podcast. Hey, I'm Bobby Davis. I'm at Coder Founder, all things Coder Founder. You can find us on YouTube, at CT Bobby Davis on Twitter. Just working on a Blazor course right now. So that's the current thing that I'm working on. So, and I made a BioLink thing yesterday, an experiment for people. So I may release that one day. It may not see the light. Kevin knows I make a lot of things that never get released. So
make a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You can find me at Kevin Doyle on Twitter, and everything co-founded with Bobby too. We actually put up a brand new sign. Maybe we'll put a picture up at some point. Maybe I'll put a picture up at the end of this on the video podcast. If you're watching the video podcast, I'll put a picture up of the brand new co-founder sign. We just moved and we got our sign up, and we're very, very proud of our brand new giant LED sign. It looks super cool. We have the coolest sign in Kernersville, so go check it out.
Where's Kernersville again?
It's tech capital of the world.
Yeah, I was about to say it's the tech
There you
capital
go.
of the world. Where you been?
Thanks everybody. We'll see you again next week.